Great.
So,
Please go ahead.
okay. Tanya, help me. All right, so I'm Carolyn Reuben. I'm a licensed acupuncturist. And
Get started.
okay. And I'm one of 20 plus people that founded the Alliance for Addiction Solutions. I've created a PowerPoint here to help me tell you about the nutrition part of the program that the organization that I used to run in a drug treatment program used, that one organization called the Administrative Office of the Courts decided it saved the state of California $20 million. And what I need to set up in your minds from the very beginning was that it wasn't just the nutrition program that saved the state of California that much money, but the entire program of which the nutrition was a part. And I'll go into more detail about that in my presentation. So at the time that this nutrition program was created, there was a drug treatment program in Sacramento County run by the probation department called Adult Drug Court, and that was a jail diversion program. And there are drug courts all over the country. And ours was unique because it started out with acupuncture, and then I added the nutrition component to it. And then we added even more. We had Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, something called First Things First from a book by Stephen Covey that helped people figure out their priorities, and some other programs. But what I'm focusing on is on the nutrition, because even though I'm a licensed acupuncturist, in my mind, nutrition is the core, most important element in a successful drug treatment program. I used to live in California, but now I live in Massachusetts. The drug court program, when I was involved with it, was 10 months long. And the part of it that I was in charge of was 6 to 8 weeks. The very beginning, people came out of jail into the program. And I'm going to have a section for questions and answers at the very end. So you might want to put into the chat your questions, and then we can look at them in case you can't stay or in case you might forget them or whatever. So the drug court program was 10 months long. At the beginning, for 6 to 8 weeks, people came every single day, 5 days a week. And they had acupuncture at the beginning every day. And then that was it for quite a few months. Then I found this article that was in a magazine called the Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine. And it was called Taking the Cure. It was all about a drug treatment program in Minneapolis, Minnesota, run by the late, great Joan Matthews Larson, was focused heavily on nutrition. And sometime after that, a counselor here in Sacramento invited Julia Ross to give a presentation in Sacramento, and I attended her presentation. And between Joan Matthews Larson and Julia Ross, I was woke to the whole concept of nutrition for addiction. And in addition to those two fabulous women, I also read and interviewed another woman in Northern California at that time named Kathleen Desmaisons, Desmaisons, Desmaisons. I don't have her name written down, but she ran a program called Radiant Recovery. And from her, I got some elements that I included in my nutrition program. So drug court is fabulous because there's accountability, and the judge follows the people in the drug court. And if they do well, then they were rewarded. And if they do poorly, then they are punished by going back to jail. And the biggest reward of all is that their felony is eliminated from their record. So they had some impetus for staying clean and sober, but let's face it, they were heavy drug users that got them into jail, and it wasn't easy. So around 50% of them were using methamphetamine, about a fifth of them were using cocaine, and around 10% were using marijuana or heroin. The first drug court was back in 89 in Dade County, Miami. I got involved in 1994, putting needles into the ears of the criminal justice cabinet. And it took me a while to convince the drug court that was then established with me as part of it that they should add the nutrition program. The first nutrition program was simply a teacher giving a 20-minute lecture, and then first thing in the morning, the acupuncturist creating a smoothie, and once a week, the nutritionist helping people to actually physically cook a meal. The benefit of this was profound because the smoothie gave people who were not eating anything something to eat, especially methamphetamine users don't eat for days on end. And if they eat anything, it might be a bag of chips or a Coca-Cola or something. So they had a regular eating schedule. They had protein in the morning that helped their brains function better, gave them more energy, got their digestive system used to having something in it at the same time every morning. And the fruit that was in it, in addition to the protein powder, gave them bioflavonoids, fruits, vegetables, gave them also vitamins and minerals, was much more than they had been taking in before my program. The nutrition counselor, the nutrition lecture, taught them the relationship of what they were eating to their recovery. Julia Ross is famous for this sentence: the number one cause of recidivism is a missed meal. Recidivism meaning using again. The number one cause of reuse is a missed meal. So having training in cooking, having training in understanding the relationship between what they were eating and staying clean and sober was an enormous step forward for all of them. It helped because it's as ridiculous to tell drug addicts that if you just come to 12-step meetings and talk to a counselor, that it's going to change your brain chemistry, as telling somebody suffering from diabetes not to change their diet, or if they're really severe, not to take the insulin. So this what made a huge difference in their ability to stay clean and sober. And we started getting testimonials, like a woman telling me, I used to walk directly from the front door of the market to the Pepsi, and now I stop to buy apples and oranges and bananas for my kids. So we're not only influencing by these nutrition lectures the people in the program, but their whole families. What is also important? Also important is when we teach them how to cook, they are standing next to someone they don't know. They don't know the people in the program when they first come in, but they also don't know anybody in their private life who doesn't use. And here is someone who is at least struggling to stay clean and sober. There's a connection. There's a camaraderie that develops. They chat over their cooking skills. And you will see that when I put on my documentary that I made about the program at the end of my presentation. And it creates a whole different gestalt for them, a whole different way of being in a treatment program, instead of sitting quietly in a lecture, but having this interaction help to solidify the group. And that's what's often missing in a person with an addiction's life, is the sense of connectedness with other people. So what were the results? The first time that anybody looked at our drug program, they looked at the results 2 years after people graduated from our drug court, and they discovered that only 17% of the graduates after 2 years of graduation were re-offending. This is the phenomenally successful program because it was compared to 67% of the usual. Can you see, can everybody see this that I'm showing you? Everyone, yeah, you can all. Raise your hand if you can see the words on my screen. Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you. So they decided that the program had saved the state of California $20 million. And I want to explain how they found that out. First, they figured out that it was $31,000 for the people that went back to using in the comparison group that weren't in drug court. It was $24,000 for the people who started using again after they were in the drug court. The difference is $6,000. I have the exact figures up on the screen. Okay. Then they figured that there were over 3,000 people that participated. So they multiplied the 6,000 by the 3,000 plus, and they got the over $20 million were saved from our program, which was pretty exciting. That was the administrative office of the courts, an administrative organization that supervised all the courts in California. The next year, I added even more to the program. In Sacramento, California, at that time, there was a nonprofit called the Senior Gleaners. And the Senior Gleaners would go to Trader Joe's and other stores, and they would take from Trader Joe's whatever the store would donate to them of food that was almost going to be bad, but wasn't bad yet. And they would go to people's homes. That's why they called it the Gleaners. If I had fruit trees in my backyard, I could call it Senior Gleaners, and they would come and pick the fruit. And then nonprofits all over Sacramento area would come in and choose the food from all that they had. And I would come every single week back to the drug court with my car totally full of food. And then I would put it into individual bags for each of the clients to take home on Friday. So this next year, every Friday, a client had a huge bag of food to take back to their house for the weekend for them and their family. Also, we had enough money given to us by the drug court that we could buy amino acid supplements. And we had the bottles of amino acid supplements. Well, how did we know what to give to each of the clients? We had the questionnaire that Julia Ross had created that's so useful. That's in her books and also available to people on our website and by checking in with our organization. And each week, a nutritional consultant would sit in the acupuncture room that was 5 days a week at that time. And one by one, the clients would come up to the table and the nutritionist would look at their food mood journal and their questionnaire. I'm going to show you a food mood journal a little later too. And their questionnaire. And from those two documents, figure out what amino acid did this individual client need. And we would give them in plastic bags with directions, amino acids to take home. I can't swear that they didn't sell them on the street. I can't swear that they didn't use them, but the result of our program was even better than before. And what they discovered, a different organization was hired by the drug court to evaluate their program. And they looked at what were the results 1 year. Before it was 2 years. This is 1 year after people graduated, and only 13% of our graduates had gone back to jail or been arrested. They looked at 247 terminated clients, meaning people that had gone into the program, but maybe were there 1 day or more and left, and versus 69 graduates. And this is the result that they found, that 34% of the terminated clients and only 13% of the people who graduated were reoffending. It's a fabulous amount. So again, the people who came into the program, about half of them were on meth, about a fifth on cocaine, and about 10% on heroin or marijuana, and only 3% on alcohol, which is kind of surprising. So what specifically was our nutrition program? This is the curriculum. Week 1, the lecture was about the whole concept of eating as a part of recovery. And week 2 was about carbohydrates and the difference between brown rice and white rice, or quinoa, or whole grains versus white flour, and what that did to your body if you were eating one or the other. And the difference between having a whole potato versus having French fries, that kind of thing. The week 3 was about fats and oils and how there are healthy oils and not healthy oils, and how they could make a difference in how they felt and how they thought by having healthier oils and let go of the unhealthy ones. And week 4 was about proteins, helping the clients to realize that even if they just gave their kids peanut butter on crackers, that was at least giving them some brain food, that peanuts, peanut butter, and nuts were part of the proteins that they could use, and not just hamburgers. And then week 5 was healthy beverages and snacks. What choices could they make? And how some of those supposed protein bars were just no really better than candy bars. They had to be discerning and be able to read the ingredients in products. And then week 6, the last week of our program, was meal planning and preparation. And how did you think through what would be on the plate of a good healthy meal? Here are the foods, excuse me, that we were helping them to actually cook. Week 1 was hamburgers, and we often use ground turkey instead of ground meat, but either one would be acceptable. We taught them about hummus, something that they had never even heard the word before, and vegetables as a snack that they could have for their kids or for themselves. Week 2 was whole wheat pasta with meat sauce and salad. Week 3 was a turkey vegetable chili with whole wheat rolls. Week 4, chicken vegetable stir fry with brown rice, or sometimes we used quinoa. And week 5 was a pizza, which they very much appreciated, but we added vegetables to their pizza, and a big salad with vegetables as well as lettuce. And week 6, burritos. These are the kind of foods we are encouraging them to create in their own house or buy when they went to buy food. Here's what a food mood journal looks like. This is an idea I got from Kathleen de Maison and her Radiant Recovery program. So we started making people use colors to identify, make sure that they understood what the difference between a carbohydrate and a protein was, and junk food. As you can see, they kind of understood it and kind of didn't. This is one anonymous person's food mood journal. So he did get the carnita taco right, because that has protein in it. So he marked it blue. And he did have the can of Pepsi as red, so I probably would have thought that the rice wouldn't have been quite as bad as the Pepsi. I might have made that a different color, but he generally got the idea. And we would point out to him that he had noticed that he was hungry and restless when he just had the can of Pepsi and some sunflower seeds for a snack later in the day. And we would point out to him that maybe if he had thought of something with protein in it, his brain chemistry might have been more even. He wouldn't have felt restless. And at least he chose a really good dinner of chicken chow mein, which would be vegetables and chicken. So we encourage them to have meals of protein regularly and snacks. Okay. And now I'm going to give you a documentary that I produced at the drug court. The first part was about acupuncture, and hopefully you're going to see the beginning of the 10 minutes on the nutrition program. You'll see what I look like.
The level 1 clients all participate in 1-hour session daily of acupuncture. And they also participate in a nutrition education class and cooking class every Friday or once a week, and meet with a certified nutritionist at least once a week to go over a food journal that they keep so that they can see what foods they're eating and the corresponding emotions and addictions or cravings that they're having at the time. In July of 1998, we implemented the nutrition program at the suggestion of Carolyn Reuben, who is with CARA, as a means of educating the clients about their nutrition, but also as a way to show them that their intake of food has a direct correlation to their cravings. Since that time, we have seen a noticeable decrease in the number of clients that we lose or who leave the program in level 1. We try to calculate the success rate based on the people that are continuously here and receive treatment. We lose a lot of people in level 1 who come in, check out the program, and leave. But of those people that stay and receive treatment, we are successful with approximately 79% of those clients.
You moved up. Oh, you were all done.
Me? No, I'm doing just fine.
Happy room. Oh, you got in there, so.
Who's in there?
No.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah,
No.
our buddy makes him a lot better than what's his name.
I was really afraid I'd be wanting to use and have it, so I'm doing that.
Okay, and try to make sure, also try to make sure you have some sort of protein in every meal. That's what that does, it builds chemicals in your brain that make you feel good, so you don't get in that situation where you lose. So what, what protein is?
Like peanut butter,
Also, meat, nuts, beans. It's all protein. Okay, so what you want to do is just try to make sure you have that at every meal. And then try the peppermint tea to see if it's kind of stimulate our appetite.
where that oatmeal.
Oatmeal's great. Yeah, you want a little bit of brown sugar with your oatmeal, and a little bit of oatmeal with brown sugar.
Right.
Okay. What's interesting here is you can affect your immune system with your diet. They did a really cool study on this one on it using Coke. And so they took blood from this one person, right? The white blood cells are the cells in the blood that fight infection. And so they saw that in this person's blood, they saw that one white blood cell could kill 20 bacteria, right? So they took the blood out, introduced some bacteria, and this one white blood cell actually was able to kill about 20 bacteria on its own, all by itself, right? And they give that person lemon, let them drink 2 Cokes, right? And with sugar, not the Diet Cokes. Cokes with sugar, right? And an hour later, they took their blood, and now Sylvia, how many bacteria could that same white blood cell kill?
A whole lot.
No,
0, no, what?
no, it was like 1 or 2.
1 or 2.
So that's what sugar does to your immune system. It depresses how well it acts. It's not as strong. That's one reason why we're trying to tell you to eat less sugar. One is because it can set you up to use again, but also because it can just set your immune system up so that you can get sick much easier. For a lot of people, okay, milk is a problem food. Yeah, a lot of people, especially in the non-white populations,
Yeah,
most people have a hard time digesting milk.
they call it lactose intolerance.
Well, yeah, it could be lactose intolerant, or it could be an actual food
I don't
allergy.
know milk.
Also, milk tends to create mucus in your body, so if you tend to get a lot of colds or flus,
Exactly.
then especially with your kids, if you take them off milk products, they'll do better. You don't got time to do everything here, so it's got like white rice, white flour, white bread. It's what I'm trying to get you whole grain products, right? So instead of white rice, brown rice, instead of white flour, whole wheat flour, instead of white bread, whole grain bread. So
Okay, but my white rice, I get brown rice, and then my Mexican rice won't turn out right,
why won't it turn out right?
because it's supposed to use white rice.
Well, why can't you just do the same recipe with brown rice?
I don't know.
Try it, see what.
Okay, I'll try it tonight.
Their recovery is about changing their lifestyle. And so nutrition is a part of lifestyle. And so that's something that really needs to be addressed as part of their treatment and recovery. And it's important for the clients to stay healthy, to stay clean, and nutrition is a part of that. So if there are programs who don't incorporate that currently, I would encourage them to look at that as an alternative to, as an additional service to enhance their drug court program.
Let's get 3 people to cut garlic.
I will.
Oh, okay, sit down with me. You 2.
Okay.
One more.
Gary, he's
You
volunteering.
Mr. Garlic. Wayne, Mr. Garlic, okay.
Oh, you go, Willie.
2 people to cut onions.
Ah, you're cutting onions.
You got
Oh,
garlic.
you got
Oh, good
garlic.
garlic.
Linda, and Gary. cut the
No,
other.
I didn't raise no hand.
We're volunteering, excuse us, this is a program, it's a we program, okay? So
We, I don't smoke weed no more.
I said we, W-E.
I
We
forgot.
all need to get-
Gary yesterday.
Me? Where?
Light rail.
We walked to the right road, he wanted to hold my books, but come in.
Oh.
She let me today, though. I got to carry her backpack for her today.
Look at my hands.
Garlic's good for you.
I think it's good for your heart.
What is that, turkey meat? Turkey sausage?
Place of all my hair. It's an awful lot of garlic, I'm here to tell you.
We got 6 pieces of bread, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to divide it up properly. It still looks like an awful lot of garlic.
At first, when I got here, I kind of, didn't really want to come, but after being here after 2 or 3 weeks, I started liking it. Getting up in the morning, feeling clean. I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, take my showers, iron my clothes, and I'm here on time. Before, when I first started coming here, I was lazy. But then, I started, feeling good, waking up, not being sick in the morning. That's what I like about it. How long I've been clean?
Shouldn't have asked that question.
Going on 30 days. I didn't know eating certain foods stops the craving from the drugs. I learned about that. Like eating too much sugar, that's bad. I learned about that. I like it. I like coming here. It keep me out of jail too.
I see a very good a big benefit they are getting from it. Okay,
From having a breakfast?
that's right. And learning how to cook, learning how to do things, as far as learning how to cook, participation, teamwork. I believe nutrition helps bring the group, almost like a family setting. That's what I see the group do.
At the end. This is the end. What do I do?
Oh, I'm sorry, baby.
Okay, so thank you for watching my little documentary. And my daughter's helping to get me back on here. So it's time for questions and answers. Anybody? I can't see the chat. If anybody put any questions in.
Hi, Carolyn. Deborah Phila here. Thanks so much for doing this.
Mhm.
Very informative. And I had a question, if you could reshare the details about the impact of sugar. I wrote down that 1 white cell could defend against 20 bacteria, and then an hour later after consuming sugar is only 1 or 2 bacteria. So I was wondering what was the amount of sugar they were exposed to?
It was 2 Coca-Colas.
Two
Two
Coca-Colas.
Coca-Cola. Yeah, 2
Okay.
cans.
All right. Thank you.
Right, and I don't know if you noticed, it's hard to see in the video what they were putting in for the smoothie. We put in oatmeal, regular oats, not fast oats, to give bulk inside the body and kind of keep the blood sugar even, in addition to pineapple juice, and sometimes we use apple juice, but we tried to use pineapple juice, and fruit, frozen fruit, and a protein powder. Trying to remember what, I think it was a whey protein powder. Yes.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Hi.
Ellen?
Hi, yes, hi Carolyn, hi everybody. This like freaking made me like practically cry while smiling, because these are the people that I know, and they're not, it's not the people who are in the the bubble of, they know what freaking quinoa is and, this and that. And it's just really, really a cool thing. And, I think I was back in 2006, I was just graduating from Bowman College. I think I was the first or one of the first people to sign up for that first Cara symposium in Sacramento. And I met
Oh, your
you
name.
there briefly, Julia. And it was, I mean, it's such a game changer. And the whole thing about food together and literally even today, all these years later, I mean, I'm in the recovery community myself personally for years and years. There's all these people that still don't know. They don't know what a difference it makes. And to watch that one woman and like literally all of these people have literally never known what it feels like to feel good. And these simple things, and then that I could just go on and on, but like I so appreciate this today. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you being on this program and sharing that. I hope that the rest of you who are on this are inspired to keep making, if anybody knows R.F. Kennedy, Robert, not F, Robert. what is
Yes,
it?
F.
It is F. Junior, and people who might have some impact politically. Let's get this spread around the country, right? Because we know it works. So I hope those of you who are on this program are ambassadors to this concept of how powerful nutrition is for a basis of addiction treatment. Who else has a question?
Julia's waving her hand.
Thank you, Deborah. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Can you hear me? Great. My plan was to be here before Carolyn started talking to introduce her, but I have been struggling with a computer crash. So this was the best I could do. But the reason that I wanted to be here to introduce her was that obviously I was there when she came to my first training, but what you don't know is that she came to almost every subsequent training for 10 years and brought her staff. There was staff coming to everyone. And it was Carolyn that was really responsible for the alliance forming. She gave us the model by putting on these marvelous conferences where we all got together and we created a community because of her. And that became a national organization. I don't know that many of you know this, but she has one weakness, and that is that she is overly modest. And so I'm here to give a more realistic picture of the extraordinary accomplishment, and the only really major documentation that there has ever been of long-term results of nutritional therapy, including amino acids. We just don't have anything else. A lot of us are clinicians and have never been able to come to grips with a research project. But Carolyn, and the reason, that I encouraged her to do this was that we all need to be aware that we have this behind us. There is no better proof. And as if I didn't know enough about how effective this program was, it really miraculously effective. This May, Shelley Jo Wallstrom, the president of the Alliance, and I presented, and she and I shared a table at an addiction conference in Southern California. And we passed out the amino acid therapy chart to everyone there. Most of them were recovering addicts trying to help other addicts. and invited them to come to the table and talk to us and trial some amino acids, and they did, and we had a wonderful time with them. And one of those women sat down to talk to us at our table and explained that she was a graduate of Carolyn's program. She had been a meth addict on the street. As a result of that program, she never offended again. She was clean and sober for 2 years. And after that, only had temporary short-term relapses. She ended up working, going back to school and becoming a counselor. Now she was the lead counselor at a government-funded program for street addicts. She understood it from the bottom up and was there to ask us to thank Carolyn and to encourage us to keep on doing what we were doing and hopefully make the impact that we had started to make. Carolyn and I spoke together at the last drug court conference that the state of California put on. And our joint presentation was so amazing that the council that put on their drug court said they wanted us to be the keynotes for the next conference and to make the conference focus on this as a new piece of what drug courts all over the country needed to do. The problem was that the drug courts were radically defunded that year, and they never had another conference, ever. So we have been foiled in spite of this incredible proof of efficacy for the addicts who are the most likely to die and to never, ever recover, let alone all of those middle-class addicts that I treated at my programs in Northern California for so long, who had 3 meals served to them. They just needed to add the amino acids, and the typical recovery of those people was they gained 30 pounds in the first 30 days by switching to sugar from cocaine. And as soon as that stopped happening because of the aminos, they were back to the diet that they had always worked for them before they got into drugs.
Yeah. Thanks, Julia.
I want to thank her again and again in front of everyone, no matter how uncomfortable it makes her.
What you said about the frustration is so true. And thank you so much, Julia.
You're welcome.
I'm embarrassed. And I want to just add about this frustration that there actually was a study of my program, because they did a study of every single aspect of the drug court and included detailed notes about all the aspects of my program, and then nothing was ever done with the data. It just sits in some computer file somewhere, because after it was done, again, the probation department changed, the head of the department changed, and nobody was interested in paying the money to actually analyze the data that was collected. So it's never been proven, quote unquote.
Well, you brought up the topic of Robert Kennedy, and he is going to be very heavily funded as the head of Health and Human Services for the United States. And this is exactly what he wants to do. He has specifically said that nutritional treatments for addictions and all other health problems need to be explored and adopted. And I think that this is something we can work on together to get this information to him, where he has all the analysts he could possibly need.
Well, good.
I have done a lot of consulting for his campaign.
Great.
And am hoping to be in a good position to funnel such marvelous things as this to him and his increasing staff as he throws out the people who have been keeping us in so much trouble.
Thank you, thank you. Hopefully it
Carolyn?
works. Who else has a question? Yes, ma'am. Yes,
All about you. Do we have access to this document? Or that would be lovely to have the link. Two, what changes would you make if you were doing it today? Because you probably, more and more has learned about nutrition and addiction.
Well, I would
And is
never
this
ask
program-
an addict how long you've been clean and sober on the camera. That was a ridiculous thing to do.
No,
Really
no,
embarrassed
the
that I did
question
that.
is California still have this program?
It's funny. I've been attempting to find out what is there now. I've written and called to the head of the program and told them I was going to be giving this presentation. Because if you look at the probation department's website, it says yoga and nutrition. They don't have acupuncture or the other parts of my program, but it does say yoga and nutrition. And I wanted to know what was the nutrition that they were considering to be their nutrition program, because this documentary was done in 2000, 24 years ago. So he got off the phone really fast. He was on his way to a meeting, and I haven't gotten in touch with the guy again. So I don't know. They say they have a nutrition aspect to their program, but it certainly isn't what we had because we were in a unique location that had a kitchen and a dining room. And so it was really easy for us to do this training in cooking and having a lecture and everything. And
I
now
think it'd be really good if you put together, not this per se, but something that's bound and can be printed, at our local FedEx or Office Max, so that we have a professional presentation of the information that you have. I think that would be a great resource if the Alliance could put it together. Somebody cleverer than me, that's for sure.
thank you, Deborah. I'm sure that you'll be happy to consult on such a project,
Yes,
right?
I will.
All right. Anybody have a question or comment about the whole concept, or have any of you added nutrition to a program that you've been involved with?
Good morning,
Mark
everyone.
Anthony, I was just going to
Carolyn,
speak about
hi.
you.
Hey, how are you? I'm open to these conversations. Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, when I saw that you were doing this presentation, I immediately got excited because it's so relevant, and certainly for those of us who been tracking the politics of how things are moving in California post Proposition 36, there's such relevance to programs like these. And so thank you, Carolyn, and also thank you, Julia. You both are such incredible inspirations for me. I had two questions. I'm thinking about our mental health population in LA County in the jails and the increase of the mental health population over time. Do you remember adaptations you made to anyone that was referred to your program that also had a mental health diagnosis? And then two, one of the narrative challenges that we run into um, in terms of people's eligibility for programs like these is around violence and the idea that people are too violent to benefit from a program. And we've run into this a lot when trying to, at least on the political side, push for funding alternatives. And so I'm curious if you can speak to the question of people's charges and the successes you had on that front, or anything else relevant to that, because I know that not to be true, and yet it is a barrier we often run into.
Your first question was about the mental health, and it's such an enormous problem for those of us who have seen changes in people's affect from taking the aminos, because people who come into a program are analyzed by psychiatrists and are given drugs before we have a chance to see what they're like off their drug, because their behavior or whatever, or their depression or whatever, it's like the first couple days before you even have a chance to see what's the baseline for this person, they're on some psychiatric medication. And so the aminos are on top of what they've been given, and we have no control over that. And when I've talked to programs about allowing nutrition in, immediately the pushback is, but we can't give them anything that they're taking orally. It has to be from a doctor. And the doctors don't know anything about that. And they're not interested in knowing anything more about it because it's a system. It's, they're you're talking about changing a process that goes smoothly. Person comes in, gets diagnosed, given drugs. And so it's a very difficult situation, and we will need heavy political work to make that change, to allow people to be analyzed for their mental health state before they're given the drug that's supposedly treating who they are as they walk in the door, which is not their normal. They're still under the influence. And the second thing about violence, that would take an awful lot of political work as well, because that's like the core basis of all drug courts, is that non-violent offenders. But that doesn't mean you couldn't have a different program that wasn't the same people, the violent and the non-violent together. Why not have a program for violent offenders, right? They teach Shakespeare, they have taught Shakespeare in prisons. They could teach nutrition in prisons, because we're talking about drug court is for jail, not prison population, different. So
Hi,
we need to-
Jasmine. This is Summer Boyage, and we spoke earlier today about the registration for the fall camp for a first grader. And yes, I am. I would like to sign my son up, please.
What?
Hey, you're on the wrong program. Please mute yourself.
This is Julia.
It's Julia.
One of the programs that the government put on for violent offenders on a regular basis for a long time, and I'm sure it's still going on in some form, is for domestic violence perpetrators. And one of our founding members, Christina Veselak, who I don't know if you met her, Mark Anthony, when you were involved with the Alliance, but she is someone I really encourage you to connect with, who is the founding director of the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition. And she used to teach these courses for domestic violence, convicted domestic violence
Offenders.
Thank you. And she tells the story of her eventual triumph after weeks of failure to get their attention at all. When she started talking to them about hypoglycemia and as a cause of rage, anger, at all levels, and gave them a homework assignment, which was these were all working guys, they weren't incarcerated, to carry a case of protein bars, balanced bars specifically, in their cars, trucks, whatever. And if they skipped a meal at all during the day, and certainly before they went home, they were to have a balance bar or two. And she got their total attention on this lecture. And when they came back, they reported really significant reduction in their anger level. And this was a revelation to them, because they weren't sure if they, were turning into monsters themselves and their family members. So something as simple as that. We've got, even more sophisticated things with the use of amino acids, in addition to the dietary, inclusion of protein specifically, that can be very helpful with anger. But there we're getting into this area that you are speaking of in terms of diagnosis. We've got negative moods, and then we've got mental illness. And what we've seen, you might notice that there was only one obese person in the entire documentary that that Carolyn played for us. The same thing that has happened, you know, over these years, intervening years, inside the brain, it's mimicking what's happening to the body, you know, deformity, unnatural function. It's not only weight gain, but it's major malnutrition. Our diet is been analyzed worldwide as 60% nutrient void, no nutrients except calories. And with a 60% nutrient void diet, we can't build a brain that functions well or a body that functions well. And so we're seeing that symptoms of mental illness that never used to be expressed, but were very possibly latent in the genetic expression equipment, are now being expressed in early childhood. So the situation is getting progressively more difficult to deal with, but the only way to pull back from it is to provide the nutrients that the brain needs to heal itself, to restore the optimal genetic programming, not this damaged expression that results in mental illness and increased cravings and addiction. And we can do that. One of the, the previous month, we had a speaker who's working in an extremely intensive outpatient program with a very formal follow-up, and it's almost entirely for incarcerated addicts who have been detoxed. Obviously, they've been incarcerated. So that part of the process has been taken care of, which is a blessing. So then they're referred to this program and they get a very in-depth experience, which sometimes includes amino acid therapy. But I wanted to steer you in that direction to see why they have a 96% long-term abstinence rate. And
where is it, Julia?
it's in Utah.
Mm.
And Shelley Jo Wallstrom isn't here, couldn't be here today, but it's a colleague of hers in Utah who has been working for 5 years in this program.
Mm.
And it's very, very interesting. And the possibility of adding, you know, on a routine basis, what you innovated, the food and amino addition. This is being done outpatient. It could continue to be done outpatient. It could be done in residential. Mark Anthony, I don't know what your resources are in terms of treatment, but we'd be delighted to talk to you about it.
That's encouraging. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's so motivating to be in this
Great.
conversation, and I would certainly love to follow up. And I owe Christina an email, so this is very timely.
Great.
Yeah. And then maybe you can have her help you design, or Juliet also help design a pilot program from your contacts in the criminal justice system, so that you can just say, well, let's just have one area of the jail have a program and compare.
Or just start with 3 people, you know, don't even have to be
Of course.
elaborate. Let's just get going with something, you know, you're, Mark Anthony, in a position.
The worst offenders. Start with the worst offenders that are causing the state or the county the most money because of their violence. And that's what Stephen Schoenthaler discovered, that it's just a small percent within a system that are causing the most money from their behavior. And so when the nutrition changed their behavior, the whole amount of money spent by the system in controlling behavior dropped dramatically. So think about that. Don't look for the best ones, look for the worst ones, the worst offenders to work on.
It is true that now there is much more severe mental illness for the reason that I gave, because of, decades of nutritional really murder by the refined food industry.
It's after 3, and I just want to honor people's time that they've been on for an hour, and so we probably should.
The point I'm trying to make is that because the symptoms are so severe now, that medication and nutrients are very likely to be needed, at least for a transition.
Salvador, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to thank you, Carolyn, for presenting and sharing your knowledge. Also, if there is a way that you could share your documentary, if it's possible, because I would like to play it again to my my group, and my hats off to you and Julia and all the pioneers that have started this many years ago. Yes, so thank you. I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
And Helen and Mark Anthony.
Yes, yeah, Mark Anthony and
Everybody's
everybody
name.
present and
A lot of
even
people
one not
here.
present. Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Salvatore. All right, I figure out how to get you I don't know how to do it technically, but I'll figure it out. Whoever wants it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving if you do that. Have a great week. All right.
And next month,
Thanksgiving.
Christina is going to be presenting, just a reminder to everyone. Christina Veselak is going to be presenting.
Great.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.